Your Eminencies, Your Graces, Reverend Fathers, dear brothers and sisters, in this session, we will talk about some other aspects of the question at hand, meaning progress, which raises some concerns. And I'm talking about, of course, posthumanism, posthumans, which is, of course, very relevant to the modern church reality. It is well known, I don't want to bore you with too many details, it is well known that after the fall, humans are in anguish in order to return to their prior state, the state before the fall. And in this course, there is an oscillation in this course that sometimes brings them closer to God and sometimes away, because inside them they could not make amends for egocentrism. Because egocentrism, arrogance, was the fulfillment of the cause for disobedience towards God, which led to the fall. The course of history, as we all know, with its various quests, the philosophical quests, sociological quests, but also the church concerns, as the presence of Christ in this world, all these created a result. They brought about a result. The result that we are experiencing today. And why was that? Because on the one hand, philosophical thinking, which was fed by the Renaissance and the Enlightenment, gave to men, to human beings, more use of reason and not cooperation of all powers that construct the human personhood, with which he or she expresses themselves. Because man is a relational being. It is not a being that can be limited to human potential, but it also needs to cooperate with the Holy Grace, which came to this world in order to give some orientation to this oscillated course and lead men to some constants that do not negate human vanity, but supports man to prepare to enter into eternity, into the kingdom of God. The kingdom of God is reserved to those that fulfill their existential prospect, so they use the image in order to reach the union with God. One of the main characteristics, one of the main gifts of God to man after the fall was the assignment of meaning to what has already a little bit mentioned, and I'm talking about the distinction between man and woman. And what does this mean, that God created man and a woman? In Orthodox theology, this means that after the fall of human beings, after the sexless person did not exist anymore, as Mr. Nikolaidis pointed out, so after that, God gave the opportunity of different characteristics that will lead to cooperation and complementarity in order to allow to restore unity. And in this way, the generations which were promised by God to Adam So, and the phrase that God said that you can conquer the earth and increase in number. So philosophy and the various ideas that arose through the reason of human beings and non-enlightened reason, they had as a result to end up in the current condition. And what is the condition? Isolation and egocentrism that torments human beings. And in order to resolve this impasse of solitude, they are not well prepared, they're not educated enough in order to find the thing that will allow them to leave behind this solitude, find a solution to their problems. Marriage is part of this framework, the framework of the isolated life of the modern man, because through this isolation, through the emphasis only on the material aspect of man, through the satisfaction of senses only, we cannot understand the actual concept of marriage. So men have distanced themselves from the holistic approach to human life, which entails materiality, of course, but spirituality as well. Because this is how God created human beings in image and in likeness of God. So, the secularization as a result of modernism has influenced the modern world. And this started some centuries ago. So now, where we are at a point that a new philosophical trend, postmodernism, tries to find solutions to the impasses of modernity. Modernity allowed the human beings to believe that nothing is more important than themselves, provided, of course, they have fun, provided that they are okay and they're happy with their lives. So this secularization in fact reduces the value of men. They do not focus on the value of human beings as personalities, but the human beings are enslaved by their senses because their only purpose is to satisfy their senses and respond to the incentives in their everyday lives. This does not only influence people that do not have any relationship with God or with church. No, it also influences Christians. The Christian West seems to be undergoing a crisis when it comes to the concept of family. And why is that? Because isolation did not only concern those that are away from us, but also those that are very near, close to us, because the entry into a marriage and into a marital discourse is not an event of kenosis between the two parts of the marriage, but it is a process in which everybody is claiming things, and is claiming things in a competitive manner, in a dominating manner, because this stems from rightism that is now considered the supreme value of the modern world. So through philosophical processes and through intellectual constructs and terminologies and terms and ideologies, new forms of families have been created, new forms of unions, new forms of this relational communication between people. And I'm talking, of course, about the relationship between spouses, the relationship between parents and children, the relationship between the children in a family, and what creates an imbalance in the deontological hypostasis of a family. For example, we could talk about the fact that it is very important in order to allow the man to remember that there are no automatic developments in our lives. Sociology talks about narratives. And quite recently, sociology has been talking about post-narratives. Church, throughout the ages and through the Father's teaching, has a narrative which is very substantial. The narrative of history as described in the tradition of the Church, and it gives the right dimensions and parameters of how men can be complete and how they can be oriented towards the restoration of this disunity, this distance from God. So, if we talk about the narrative of Genesis, according to which God created man and women, this allows us to think, following this narrative, we can transfer this narrative as a post-narrative in today's world. Family is a mystery, is a sacrament. Marriage today is not approached as a sacrament, because if the sacramental nature of marriage is lost, then we lose the dynamic of grace that is provided through the search in order to save the fallen human beings. Families, spouses within a family, should be the creators of a home, and this home will be a holy home. And this comes from the narrative that our church books keep presenting to us. The church books talk about the creation of a home church within each family that allows us to transcend individuality. And they talk about complementarity as well. The narrative of the Christian family is not based on rightism. It is based on giving. It is based on this kenosis that regulates the quality of interpersonal relationships at all levels. And I'm talking about the level of order within the family. There is a harmony through order. There is also the level of the physical communication within marriage, where wisdom and ascesis, according to spiritual life, are an everyday concern for people that experience the sacrament of marriage. And the spouses that act in this way, they become a model for their children and for their entire community and parish. They are the beginning, and then the sanctization of society will follow. We can see the examples of saints, not too many, but some of them were, that these examples were inspiring for people. If families do not do this today, if they do not approach the sacraments of God, there is no chance at all that people feel this happiness they are looking for in this world as an experience of the eschata, in order then to be hopeful that they will reach the kingdom of God. Of course, I don't have a lot of time, no more time actually, so I cannot offer you any more comments and references. Possibly we can add to that in the Q&A, or I can give you a more complete paper to be published in the minutes of the conference. We could talk about the pastoral presence of church today by asking a question. Do the fathers of the church, if the fathers of the church were alive today, how would they approach these concerns, these challenges of posthumanism and the problems, the current challenges with families? Thank you.